Greetings, and welcome to your class segment on consent and communication. Consent is vital to the work that we do at PFART, but there are times when it can be a complex thing to ensure is done correctly. This section has two main topics: consent when communication is possible, and what to do when it is not, along with the four main approaches that you may need to use to communicate effectively. If communication is possible, it is your duty, should you choose to volunteer, to broach the topic with as much sensitivity as is possible. It is a difficult time for a Vulcan, and the shame of their errant behavior being noticed and spoken of may drive them to refuse you or even to react violently. It is best to approach discreetly if possible. Introduce yourself and reference your training. Here is a possible script where we will be communicating with the hypothetical Vulcan male Stalik. We will call this approach the tactful approach. Stalik, my name is Kay. You seem to be in some distress. I've taken some training from the Vulcan Ministry of Cultural Exchange. Perhaps I may be of assistance? It is still rare that a Vulcan will be willing to accept your assistance on the first offer, although we are working to demonstrate the logic of accepting such help. So we will imagine that Stalik responds by harshly insisting that you leave him alone without indicating that he has a viable alternative. Here is the next part of your script. I understand. I don't want to pry, but can you tell me that you'll be all right if I leave you here? Usually, Vulcan truthfulness will win out. If Stalik tells you that he will be fine, believe him. If he says he will not, then say this: if you are unwell, I can escort you to medical, or if this is a private matter that medical cannot help with, then I want to again offer my assistance. This will let Stalik know that you understand his condition without causing him distress by naming it. Then it is important to reiterate: if you do not consent to my assistance, I will leave now. If Stalik becomes agitated, it may help to begin with the promise to leave and then make your offer. It is very important to understand this: if he still refuses, you must leave. You may leave your contact information if he will take it, but you must still leave. This may be enough to show him that you are trustworthy, but even if not, you must let him make that choice. Now, this is a framework that will only work in the early stages. In the second scenario we will examine, Stalik is nearing the plateau and is far more agitated and visibly unwell. He will be at his most dangerous then, either to himself, others, or both, because he will have enough logic left to act with intent, but not enough control to resist destructive urges. There are two main approaches here: blunt and reassuring. You will need to match Stalik's energy to some degree. Let us say first that he is hostile and combative. In this scenario, it is best to be extremely blunt. Rather than, would you appreciate some assistance, perhaps try, do you want to fuck me? See also the list of Vulcan phrases in your handout. These are especially useful if Stalik is having trouble with standard, as he may lose second languages first. Once you have Stalik's interest, assuming he does not refuse you, you may face the challenging prospect of getting him to a more private location. This can be complicated. You want him to follow you without thinking that you are leaving him. One option is to make something of a game of it, telling him to chase you and then simply leading him where you wish him to go. This works well for the more aggressive as well as the more wantonly sexual. It may be more difficult to convince Stalik if he is fearful. He may fear that you are leaving him to die, or equally he may fear harming you if he follows. This is where you will need to employ a more reassuring approach. One possibility in this case is simply transporting both of you to a more private location. If this is not possible, you will have to convince him to follow you. You may wish to be somewhat repetitive, relying on a soothing tone to convey most of your meaning. It's all right, Stalik. You're going to be just fine. Can you stand up for me? I don't want you to hurt like this. It's okay. I can help. Please come with me. If he expresses that you may come to harm, I know what I'm doing, all right? I won't let you do anything to hurt me, even by accident. I was trained on what to do. We'll both be fine. I just need you to come with me, okay? You can also attempt gentle, reassuring touch to a neutral area such as the arm or upper back, if he allows it. In the final scenario, Stalag has already entered the plateau and will be incapable of speech. We will call this the nonverbal approach. In this scenario, you can check with medical for any advance directives. If there are, you must honor them, but usually there are not, and you may assume that Stalag would prefer to live. Do what you can to ensure that Stalag is in a secure location where he cannot inadvertently hurt anyone. His quarters locked are ideal. Be quick with the preparations we discussed in the previous section, and then enter Stalag's quarters. The easiest way to communicate your intent to a nonverbal Vulcan is to hold out 2 fingers with the others folded down, like so. Stalag may respond in kind, or he may attempt to meld with you. We will discuss what to do in the latter case later on in this course, but you may regard either response as an acceptance of your offer. If he attempts to kill you, you may regard that as a refusal. In some ways, this is simpler. It may be tempting to wait until this point, but please resist that urge. Entering the plateau without a mate is both painful and deeply traumatic, so if you have the opportunity, please approach before this point. Of course, all these scripts are merely examples. It is best to phrase them in whatever manner is most natural to you. The important thing is that you understand the various approaches and when they are most useful. To reiterate, these approaches are tactful, blunt, reassuring, and nonverbal. Tactful is useful in the early stages, blunt for aggressive but communicative, reassuring for communicative but fearful, and nonverbal for when the power of speech is lost. This concludes the consent and communication portion of this training.